In a driver market, which let's face it is heavily dominated by the big brands nowadays, I absolutely love it when somebody else comes to the party. And you see guys, Tour Edge have been doing this year after year after year, very quietly. They've been making their drivers just a little bit better, just a little bit more forgiving, and let's face it, the story just a little bit more interesting every year. Introducing the brand new Tour Edge Exotics C723 driver with FTS flight tuned system. I'll talk about this as the video goes on. So you see, for a driver which is loaded with technology and a driver which Tour Edge claim is quite possibly the most adjustable low spin driver on the market, how can they go wrong with this? So this has quad carbon tech, as you can see it is split into 4 pieces, crown and sole. It also has ridgeback technology, which is this kind of core center through here, and you can see those movable weights that go into fade, neutral, draw, and we also have weights at the front which you can change as well. There's really not much which you can't change on this driver. I've got it in 10.5 degrees of loft, but if it's a low spinner, it could be quite interesting just to see. I mean, that, I didn't expect that to go that well. That's in the middle of the fairway. It was a nice ball flight, it wasn't too high. Usually I would go 9.5, I'm going to crank this down to 9.5. The element of adjustability on this is astronomical. So that's the first thing I am going to do just with the loft, but look at how many different elements you can change here. It is quite ridiculous, check that out. Higher, higher, neutral, lower, lower, all with different lie angles, all with, let's face it, you'd have to read up on every single option there, wouldn't you? I'm just going to go lower, where was it? There. So that is now playing closer to 9.5 degrees, which for me is what I would usually have. But guys, I love the fact that Tour Edge have come out with this driver. I love the fact that they've spent so much time trying to get this right, trying to get so many adjustable factors in here. Guys, I'm going to jump inside in this video as well. We are going to test it for all those adjustments, see just how good it is, maybe how it can compare to one of the bigger name brands as well. I hate saying bigger name brands when it comes to Tour Edge, because let's face it, especially over in the States, they are a huge name in the golf industry. Maybe just don't spend as much on marketing. That's why we don't hear of them as much here in the UK, and trying to get hold of them, I suppose. Right, come on. This immediately looks like it's going to launch lower just because of that loft. Can it still launch well? Oh yeah. If anything, that feels like it's gone higher and more powerful. I can't wait to show you just how close, especially those two are together down there, because for me, I want this driver to be forgiving. I want it to perform well, but above all, I want it to be consistent, because one thing I find when you do spend a little bit more money on golf clubs, you get that element of consistency, which they have to nail here if they want to keep knocking on the door of the bigger brands. Let's hit one more and we'll go and find some slightly more awkward tee shots and see just how well this thing does perform with its diamond face technology. Looks quite cool, that, doesn't it? You can see I've struck those a little bit low on the face as well. I bet they've spun fairly high, unless all this technology is really helping. I think if you are going to get one of these, the big problem is you probably can't find anywhere to get fitted here in the UK. I will do some research, and if you can, I'll put it in the link in the description below, because the last thing I think you want amateur golfers doing is buying one of these and going a little bit happy with the adjustment key and never really finding a solution. But for me, I've absolutely nailed those two. Let's see if we can hit a third one just over that corner into the middle of the fairway. Feel and sound wise, I've got to say, it feels and sounds as good as anything else I've tested. I think that one stayed a tiny bit further left, but it's still going to be in play, still going to be around the fairway, probably left-hand rough. Guys, let's jump down there. Let's see just how consistent those 3 balls have been. I'm really enjoying this. I must say, I always get excited when I see what Tour Edge Exotics are up to, especially when it's something that looks as cool and as futuristic as this bad boy. So guys, I mentioned just how good this driver does feel. Now that is down to the 360 ridgeback technology that creates the sound and feel and contributes to the super high MOI. The quad carbon technology is lightweight carbon in 4 different places. That moves weight to boost MOI and create that forgiveness element. And the diamond face is designed just to help you generate a little bit more ball speed on off-center hits, which I think we've probably found because the first two were a little bit low on the face. And you know, I said earlier about them being close together. Well, these first balls are 7 woods, which I tested earlier for a separate video, these two here, and the other 3, that is ridiculous, isn't it? That is quite ridiculous. So rather randomly, as the snow and hail starts to come down, we did start this video in what felt like was the start of spring, and now it's feeling like winter all over again. But I'm now on a hole which I absolutely despise the tee shot of. I hate it. You can probably hear that it's into a strong wind as well, and there's a big old lake over on the left hand side there, which is as full as it's ever been, because we've had loads of rain this week. Now what I'm going to try and do to combat this is turn this into the kind of low spin bomber that they claim. So I'm going to move this front weight to the back. It's 5 grams here, 15 grams at the back. I'm going to swap them over. I think that's doable. Let's check and just see if it can lower that spin rate a little bit. I was really impressed with those first shots. I was quite impressed with the forgiveness of them. We'll try not to lose that, but this so unprofessional, I know. But now we stick you in there. Oh, this could be something glorious. I think it might be, you know, actually, but there we go. Where have you gone? There. Now, one thing I will say is this could be made a little bit easier. Like, it's not the most simple of tasks. I mean, I spend my life playing around with golf clubs, and I mean, you can see it's there, it's set in. Doesn't look the best, but it is a little bit finicky, a little bit faffy. I probably would be scared of. I definitely wouldn't do it somewhere where I could lose the weight, because they are easy to lose, and once you've lost that, you're in a deep world of pain. I'm just really hopeful now that this doesn't make it not forgiving enough. It doesn't make it too much of a brute. Can we hit some low spin bombs down here? Oh wow, yeah, we can. Check that ball flat out. That was Healy as well, and it's literally, I'm going to have to zoom in and show you, it is literally on that centre cut line. Well, very close to it, as you can see there. I'm over the moon with that, mainly because I didn't strike that very well. It wasn't the best golf swing, and into the wind on a horrible hole, I've gotten away with it. That's the dream, and that's even better. That was well struck. That's flying past the first one. Oh yeah, that is up there. This, I think it actually does what Tour Edge Exotics says on the tin. I think it is a low spin bomber. It is the ultimate club when it comes to being a fine-tuned system. I think that's what I would probably call it. Instead of flight-tuned system, I'd call it finely tuned, because you're never going to see huge differences here, as we'll look for in the studio in just a second. But you will be able to finely tune it, to tweak it, just to make it exactly how you want it. I've gone from a 10.5 degree driver with loads of weight in the back to a 9.5 with plenty of weight in the front that's hitting me shots like this. That's 3 identical ball flights. I'm going to play those ball flights one after one after one, and again we're going to get down there, and that's even better. That was well struck. Oh wow, yeah, we can. And spoiler alert, you could throw a blanket over all of those shots. If you've not tried this yet, I suggest you do so. Right guys, it is that time. Let's jump in the studio. Let's test this golf club phone numbers. Let's test it for ball speed, for spin rates and for distance. And let's see just how it compares to some of the bigger names of 2023. I'm really hopeful here. I won't say confident, but I'm hopeful. So that's something, isn't it? So guys, as you can imagine, I was really excited to take this Tour Edge Exotics driver into the studio and not only test it for its own numbers, not only test it to see how straight I could hit it and to see how far I could hit it, because that's what everyone wants to know, but also to see how it can compare against, let's face it, one of the biggest drivers of the year. So I tested it against a TaylorMade Stealth 2 Plus. Now, these are obviously 2 totally different drivers with totally different technology, but I think with the specs that Tour Edge Exotics sent this driver in, it could well compete with it. You see that when they're pitching up around the 280 yard mark, for me that is a huge hit. I must admit, I hit the TaylorMade Stealth 2 really well. I actually hit one of the best drives that I've ever hit in this test, and this is one of the tests that I use for my I gained yardage video. So if you want to see that, that video is now live. And I feel like I'm swinging well, so it's a really good time to get this comparison. This is the drive that I'm talking to you about, on the line, pitching at like 287 yards, running up more than 300. But as averages, you see, we actually got more ball speed with the Tour Edge Exotics, which is crazy. It launched a little bit lower. You can see it spun a little bit more. And we got 277 average as opposed to 282 average. So 5 yards difference. But look at the standard deviation there, only 4 yards as opposed to 7 yards. So very similar. And to be honest, very impressive numbers and dispersion with this driver. A lot more impressive
than what I would have thought.
So some pretty impressive numbers there, guys, some quite thought-provoking numbers as well. Check out where these 3 drives have finished, because for me, that is quite remarkable on a hole where, I know you can just about see those in focus, I would usually be in there, which isn't ideal. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, smash that subscribe button below. 60% of you guys who watch aren't subscribed, and it really does break my heart. If you enjoy these videos, smash that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and I'll see you all at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.